Evil is on the rise. Demons battle to possess our souls and drag us one step closer to hell. But now, there is a gathering of spiritual warriors who defend us against the devil's minions.
Go back to hell! St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle.
And unite to banish the demons in our midst.
This was the case that opened my eyes.
This 17-year-old girl was so distraught that she would do anything to talk to her dad one more time.
Disturbing things started happening. You could feel the presence. It was just terrifying.
We ended up having our very first demonic experience. It frightened me. It frightened me to the core.
Demons wait patiently for the ultimate checkmate, the rise of the Antichrist, which will lead to the final battle between good and evil. Until then, the spiritual warfare will continue. These are the true stories of the Legion of Exorcists.
To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is the Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Shawn Whittington. I'm a seminarian in the United States Old Catholic Church, and I'm coming to you live from my haunted house, my very haunted house, where I live. Got a great show tonight. She's in the green room. I'm going to bring her out as soon as I can, but I know that's why you all tuned in anyhow. I'm so excited. Her first time on the show, first time really meeting her. For me, I'm very excited. So first, let's get to the prayer urn. Richard W. from Texas. Hi, Richard. Bought a historic house out in the country. Uh-oh. Go figure, it's haunted. I knew it before you even told me. Possibly something up to no good. Can I have a cleansing prayer? I haven't done this in a while, Richard, and that's a great request, and we're going to do that. I assume you're watching, so what I need you to do right now, brother, is crank the volume up on your speakers, and anybody else out there that's watching that may be having some paranormal issues that might be of a little darker nature. This prayer is for you too, so crank your speakers up. Here we go. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord Jesus Christ, in thy name I ask thee to bind and silence all powers and forces that do not accept thee as Lord and King, in the air, in the water, in the ground, the netherworld and nature, and the spiritual world. I ask thee to bind all demonic action and demonic communication. Lord, seal this whole place, all of us here, and all our intentions in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Mary, we ask thee to surround us with thy mantle of protection and crush Satan's power in our lives. St. Michael the Archangel, we ask you and all our guardian angels to defend us in battle against Satan and the powers of darkness. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Brother, it's simple. Richard, this is your house. You bought it. You live there now. It's all about authority. You take authority. And keep praying. Have your house blessed and cleansed. Get up. Actually, reach out to me later. I'll send you something, maybe a gift package, and you can bless and cleanse your house yourself. It's all about you. You have the power to take it back and turn your life around and take authority over your home. So let's do that later. Okay. The Paranormal Ministry mailbag.
Hey, before you continue, look at this. We just played the trailer, right?
Yeah.
Look who's here. You got yourself quite a following going today.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you better,
Speaking of mental health issues.
Yeah, you better be straightening up that collar and making sure that you've got your arrow heading the right way, pal.
You took the first shot with the straighten up your collar. What happened to the producer suit? I thought we were going to go with the producer suit.
Like I said, I got all my laundry done.
All right, brother. Ruth B. from Oklahoma. Oklahoma. My father was born and raised there. I love Oklahoma. I haven't heard from an Okie in a long time. I hope you don't mind me calling you an Okie, Ruth. I work at a mortuary. Uh-oh. I didn't think I was psychic, but more and more I'm experiencing spirits following me home from my job. I'm a little troubled by this. What should I do? Well, your job is very important. I don't know exactly what it is you do, but I'm thinking of the ferryman who takes the people across the river to the place where the dead go. I'm thinking of grave diggers are very important. There's all respect. Groundskeepers at cemeteries. It's all about respecting the dead. Many times these dead people, you probably already know this, Ruth. Many times these dead people come to you. They're attached to their body still. They're a little freaked out. They may know they're dead. Maybe they don't know they're dead, but there's some trauma going on there. So listen, I always do what my mother told me. May she rest in peace. When I was a young kid seeing spirit, they're just people that don't have a body anymore. And if they're appearing to you, there's a reason. They either have a message or they need your help. So you ask them, do you have a message for me? Do you need my help? If you can help, try. If you can't, you be honest with them. Tell them that you can't, but tell them that they're dead. They need to cross over, and you respect them and you pray for them. And that's about all you can do. But the job you do is very important. Whatever it is you do at a mortuary is important. So God bless you. Okay. Anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. If you go there to visit, remember my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So brothers and sisters, trust me, I know times are tough. But if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. I'm also a certified spiritual advisor. So if you're having issues of a spiritual nature, not attached to the paranormal, there's a place on the website where you can make an appointment to speak with me. But don't leave the website without navigating over to the page called The Introduction to Spiritual Warfare Course/book. You'll find the ghost store on there. A lot of cool things to buy if you go for that sort of stuff. And just know that everything you buy there, proceeds from those sales go to many things that I support, charities that I support. But scroll past the ghost store and you'll see my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. And I quote, scariest book I ever published. That was Annette Munich, owner of Stellium Books, my publisher. But don't let that scare you off of purchasing a copy. If you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. So it's a no-brainer. You get to help some of the neediest children on the planet, along with the animals too. How cool is that? You can get the book a little less expensive at Amazon, but if you buy it off of the website, I autograph it for you. Probably depreciates the value, but I autograph it, send it to you in a house blessing kit. And this is a great time to get the first book and get all caught up because about a week from now, on Memorial Day, my second book, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 2, Chronicles of an American Exorcist, comes out. So it's a great time for you to get the first one, get all caught up before you rush right out there and get the second book. And it'll be the same thing. You can get the second book at Amazon and autographed off of the website in a house blessing kit. And I think my publisher's even arranging a deal where you save some money if you get a package, the two together. So we'll see. Anyway, scroll past the book and you'll see the Introduction to Spiritual Warfare course. I offer a 12-week online college-level course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. And this is a course for all you true warriors for Christ out there that feel a calling and a longing to want to have more knowledge when it comes to drawing your line in the sand, making a stand, circling the wagons, putting up a good fight against, God forbid, true evil if it ever comes calling. This is the course for you. You can enroll in the course at the website. If you want more information about the course before making that type of commitment, there is a Introduction to Spiritual Warfare course Facebook page that you can go to and read about the course, or just reach out to me and we can talk. No, the course is not going to teach you how to be an exorcist. That's a completely different calling. But this course is Introduction to Spiritual Warfare through my eyes, what I've experienced and seen and how I've dealt with it over the past 10 years, let's say, roughly. So all my students that graduate get a stunning diploma, certificate of completion, suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed gifts that you can only get from yours truly. So, most importantly, please keep all of my former, current, and future students in your prayers. Thank you very much. Okay, the moment of truth. The reason why you all tuned in. First time on the show, first time meeting her. I'm very excited. Lifelong personal paranormal experiencer, paranormal investigator, paranormal authority, paranormal enthusiast. First woman demonologist in the United States Old Catholic Church. How cool is that? Brothers and sisters, please give a warm paranormal ministry family welcome to the one and only Leslie Cody.
Hi.
Leslie, you look very pretty tonight. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm really good. Just got moved into our new house. So
how old's the house? Speaking of houses.
Yes, that was, it was my first thought. The first question I asked the woman was, has anything happened in this house? Did you ever have any activity in the house? Before I bought it, she probably thought I was bizarre, but I was like, I need to ask you these questions. No, it's 61. It was built in 61. It's fantastic. We really
That's older than my house. Mine was built in like 79, and well, I think my wife and I brought a lot of the spirits here, but 61. And you're also Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I get so many people reaching out to me from the Midwest with haunting issues because you guys are so rich and steeped in history, especially like Native American and indigenous history.
Yes.
A lot of hauntings attached to that, but I'm glad your home is quiet and hopefully, well, I hate to do this to you. I'll just throw and you already know this, what you do and the path you've chosen, which God laid in your lap. Mm-hmm. Your house may not stay quiet for long.
Oh, yes. No house I've ever lived in has stayed quiet for long. So I'm not surprised. It's been blessed though. So I'll always have it blessed before I stay.
Good for you. And I have to ask you a dumb question. Most of my questions you're going to find are dumb anyway, but I got to ask you a dumb question. I very rarely meet anybody with the last name of Cody. Are you related to Buffalo Bill?
I'm not. I'm not.
It's funny. I thought about that question. I said, "Don't answer the question. That's stupid." I'm talking to myself, so I'm overdue for my monthly appointment with the psychologist because I've been talking to myself lately, and I'm saying, "No, don't ask her that question." And part of me saying, "No, ask her." This, you never know. But then I turn on the TV, and what's on TV? It was great. This old Western with Jeff Bridges called Bill. I think it was called Bill or maybe Wild Bill, but it was about him. And I'm like, well, that's a sign there. I've got to ask her.
It was synchronous. That's synchronous. I love those synchronicities.
Well, we touched base a little bit on this in the green room before we went live, and I wasn't planning to ask you this, but now I realize how important this topic is.
Yeah.
And I'll start with this. Do I have it laying around here? I do have it right here handy. It's never far off. You may have already seen this and read it. Many of you out there in our field may have this book already. But this book here, I love this book. It's called True or False Possession. It's by a French guy, but it's all translated into English. I made this book must reading for me before I even got into this field years ago, and it's turned out to be invaluable. And I know that you work, in addition to being a demonologist and having experiences with the paranormal your whole life, I know you also work in the mental health field. So let's start right there. How was your day? How was your job today? And let's talk about what you do and how it marries with the paranormal.
Well, my day today, I actually was off today because of the move. Today was my day off. But right now I work as a family counselor in a CCBYS program, which is intervening in crisis situations with usually teens or children age 8 to sometimes 17, 18, upwards of 20. Usually it's a lockout situation or a runaway situation. We work a lot side by side with DCFS because in a lot of those situations there's abuse. So that's what I'm doing currently. My master's program that I'm in is clinical mental health counseling. So I've also worked as an outpatient therapist with adults. I've worked in addiction, both inpatient and outpatient, which honestly was really, I learned so much working in addiction. I never thought that I would go that direction with my career, but I feel like I really met some of the wisest and very deeply spiritual people who've been through addiction. And I think that's kind of where they marry. I think there's several places actually, but mental health, I guess first, mental health and demonic influence are not mutually exclusive. So you can have both going on at the same time. But I think it's extremely important to be able to differentiate the two, because more times than not, when someone calls me or I'm working on a case and they're absolutely certain they have demonic activity, it's not. And frequently I see mental illness, and it's usually not very severe. Like we're not looking at things like schizophrenia. Sometimes there's bipolar, but more often than not, really, it's just kind of some personality disorders and maybe some depression or anxiety that's sort of manifested in a paranoia or something like that. But it's important to know the difference, I think, because if I didn't, some of the stuff might look paranormal.
What's interesting is that I'm gonna go back to like a personal experience here. Like the last year of my father's life and last 2 years of my mother's life, may they rest in peace, they were in hospice care. And I would go there and I'd either have my Ghost Be Gone hat on or my Ghost Be Gone shirt, and the nurse would be looking at me funny. And then sure enough, many times when I'd be out walking in the corridor, the hallway, or out getting a snack or in the cafeteria or whatever, I'd be approached and they'd say, what is Ghost Be Gone? And I would tell them, they go, I thought so. You need to come in this place like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and roam around. 1, it's haunted. 2, we think there's some dark stuff here. 3, many of the people in here that have been clinically diagnosed as being crazy, some of them are crazy, but in addition to that, we believe they have some type of attachment or demonic issue going on. So it's sad. I'm not, what you do is going to come in so handy for you. I have absolutely no training when it comes to that. So in my intake form to people, there's that question: have you ever been clinically diagnosed with a mental illness under the care of a physician on meds, yada yada yada? Or I even ask them that in our interview. Many times they shut off and they don't even want to talk about it. And the sad thing is I do believe many of them are ill, and even if they're not possessed or don't have a demonic attachment or they're not demonically oppressed, they believe they are. So
Right.
it's not their fault, it's the illness. But many of them also are, but now my hands are tied. Legally, I can't proceed beyond that because I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. That is going to come in be invaluable for you in this field.
Yeah, it does. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. And those are hard conversations that I've had to have with people. And, I can't make a diagnosis when I'm working a paranormal case. If someone calls me in because they believe that they're afflicted, or, their house is infested, I'm not in a situation where I'm working as a mental health therapist. So that's not a clinical setting, and I can't make an official diagnosis. But the knowledge does help. It helps me kind of lead them in a direction as well, to be able to just open that conversation up a little bit and talk about the potential for counseling. A lot of times there's trauma. I met a woman once who she was absolutely certain there was demonic influence happening in her situation, and I heard her tell her whole story, and what I heard over and over was trauma, and very severe trauma. This woman had been through some pretty horrific things from the very, very early parts of her life. And again, those things are not mutually exclusive either. Sometimes I feel like trauma is definitely a gateway. But what I told her, she was showing a lot of paranoia and sort of an obsession with an ex that she had. And it sort of went that direction. She was like, well, I want your help in getting me well so I can get him back. And I was like, okay, that's not what I do. So I had to kind of just tell her, we need to get you stable from the trauma first, because whether there's demonic influence or not, this trauma is not serving you. You can't heal. You have to address that first. So we started, with prayer and some things like that as well. But her main goal was to get to a therapist to sort of start working through that trauma, because she wasn't going to be able to do anything else until she dealt with that. So it was really helpful to have that knowledge and be able to identify that, knowing what trauma does to a person and how that manifests.
I'm going to ask you another weird question here. I wasn't planning to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you now. And I mentioned it earlier. People think I'm joking. No, I don't. Once a month, every couple of months at the outside, I sit down 30 minutes an hour and I talk to a psychiatrist. And I also have a friend that's known me all my life who's a psychiatrist. And we just talk. Nothing in particular. We just talk. And I've told them way back in the day, let's just talk. And in our hour talk, if you've decided I need to hang it up because I'm crazy, because nobody wants a crazy exorcist at their home, let me know, and I'll believe you. Having said that, are you too close to your? I know this sounds weird, but are you too close to yourself to be able to make that determination, or do you see somebody to discuss your own personal
Oh, yeah,
health?
absolutely. Because I'm a grad student as well, I'm required at some point in my graduate program to experience being on the other side, as they say, the other side of the table, of the desk. But I've done it multiple times. I think we all need therapy, to be honest with you, because I don't think therapy is something that is reserved for when you're having a problem or you're going through something traumatic or you have a mental illness even. Therapy is an objective perspective, and you're asking someone to sit and sort of mediate and be present with you and help you process things. So you can be completely healthy, having a wonderful life and no problems at all. And I still think a therapist is beneficial. It just sort of keeps us grounded. So we don't get wrapped up sort of in our own minds.
I think the biggest thing, I'm very honest and open with people about this, that there's still many things that I struggle with in this field, especially. And one of them is I still struggle when I get cases where people call me and they tell me they're living a good life. They're a good person. They're religious. They're just good people. Never hurt, can't recall having any history in their life where they might have hurt anybody and had somebody get mad enough at them to put a curse on them or anything of that nature. They can't trace anything in their lineage, their heritage, their bloodline of anybody that practiced dark arts back in the day, but yet they're convinced that they have a curse on them. And then when I talk about the types of things that have happened to them, there's times where I go, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what's going on with you. I go there, I talk to them, I investigate. My spidey senses that normally would alert me to, run of the mill malevolent entity running around or something, God forbid, demonic. Those senses aren't up. Something different, but I can sense something different there going on. Do you experience that much? And even if you haven't, how would you approach somebody coming to you that thinks they have a curse on them?
Well, the situation that you're talking about specifically, I have had that experience where, we'll go through the whole intake questionnaire, which is pretty extensive. And they're telling me, well, they've never dabbled in the occult. They've never participated in a seance or played with the Ouija board. No one in the household has, they don't have any enemies. They've just kind of lived life. It's just been sort of a life without anything that might bring something on, but they are absolutely certain someone's done something to me. And usually that to me is sort of a check in the box of potentially mental illness. That's sort of when I start looking that direction, because that's a paranoia and it's not grounded in any reality, and that's how it's defined as paranoia, rather than, if they've done something to someone, it's not unrealistic to think that maybe someone did curse you, if you've got a sordid past or whatever. But when it's not grounded in any reality, then that's where my mind goes immediately, is okay. And I'm not going to jump to the conclusion necessarily that they are clinically paranoid, but I'm definitely going to dig a little more in that direction to try and determine, what's making you think that this is happening when it doesn't appear that there's any evidence. That's one of the central tenets of cognitive behavioral therapy. We ask, where's the evidence of this? People will say, I'm a terrible person. Okay, where's the evidence of that? And then you just keep digging. You're looking for whatever you're saying, find the evidence to support that. And more times than not, they can't. And that's when okay, you're not actually a terrible person. You're not, someone's not out to get you. There's something else going on.
So, Leslie, we got a couple questions for you. The first one is from Jennifer Bailey, and she would like to know if addiction is demonically driven.
I would say sometimes it can be, not always, but when I worked inpatient substance abuse, I had a lot of I had a lot of clients talk to me about the shadow people. And I overheard it once. We were about to do a group and some of the girls were talking and they were like, yeah, shadow people. And of course that caught my attention, and I'm like, the chef, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, it's a substance thing. They specifically, what they told me was it's a synthetic thing. So a lot of people who are addicted to synthetics, in particular, they would say that they would experience seeing the shadows, is what they call them, or the shadow people. And I'm like, well, tell me more about that. And they would say, well, we'll see them all over the place. And it's just sort of an understanding of people who have been addicted to that substance, and they all know it, and they just know what they're talking about. So they're all having this same experience. They say the shadow people sometimes will come out during the day. They peek around trees. They watch them while they're sleeping at night. They're having a lot of sleep paralysis. Sometimes the shadow people attack them. Sometimes they just watch them. But I'm like, that sounds a lot like some oppressive situations to me. So I do think sometimes it is. They do go hand in hand, but I don't think that's necessarily the case with every situation. There's a genetic element as well. Disease being addiction being a disease. There's that as well. There's physiological aspects.
Okay. The second question is by a really good friend of the show, Charles Rudd. Do you think if you had an NDE, you could bring back an attachment?
I do.
Yeah.
I've never personally had an NDE, but I've had out-of-body experiences when I was young. And I do think you could bring back an attachment.
I do. I agree.
Yeah. I think also it's possible that experience just opens you up spiritually in a way that makes you more susceptible to, I guess, perceiving things that are already there that we don't always necessarily see easily. Yeah, I think that plays a role as well.
You mentioned I'm gonna take a couple of steps back. The word paranoia is stuck in my mind right now because you said it, and what really is reminding me of some situations where, like with these curses, and we always talk about, you got to let go of the fear because they feed off of your fear. Well, in many times I find that real intense paranoia can almost be even more debilitating than fear. And then these curses, the person is so paranoid about the curse that it keeps feeding off of that paranoia. And I'm not going to disagree with you about the drugs, but you know what? It's crazy how many people come to me for help that have alcohol and substance abuse issues. And they may not have had the issues prior to that, but I believe it led to that. I believe it opened some doors and it left them susceptible to attack.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very
absolutely. I
interesting.
could see
Yeah.
that.
It's a tough. It's really really tough. I'm embarrassed to even admit how many cases I've had to cut loose or send in an opposite direction or find someone else to help with because I ran into that mental wellness illness brick wall and I couldn't get beyond it.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you to Rich Valdez because I was sitting there going, NDE. Is this person talking about a non-disclosure?
Agreed.
Some of us are morons.
Thank you, Rich.
NDEs, yes, I have. For instance, my good friend Susan Ahern, she's a psychic that comes on the last Monday of every month. She's like a 7-time, has actually died and came back. So, and as gifted as she is, I believe that happened to my wife too, several times over, near-death experience survivor. And I don't like that term, near-death experience survivor. No, you died. You're a death survivor. And I believe all of her sensitivities began with her after these experiences. It's weird how that works. Like I guess you must go someplace and you all of a sudden you look different to the spirits. You feel your energy feels different to them, and all of a sudden now they're, you know, they come at you like you're that light on the back of the porch zapping mosquitoes. You know, they're just
Yeah.
attracted to it. It's a pretty amazing thing, and that's debilitating too. How many people have you dealt with that have survived a near-death experience? Now why did I survive? Especially if they're in a situation where family members or other people close to them were in the situation that didn't survive. Now they've got survivor's remorse. Um, oh my gosh. And then it's a rabbit hole. If they
Yeah.
didn't have substance abuse problems there, usually they start heading in that direction. And if
Right.
they're not sound in there, I know everybody's going to say Rev's getting ready to get his preach on. That's not my style. But if they're not spiritually sound of mind and body and have some type of religious belief system in place that they can fall back on and reach out to God, they can very quickly find themselves lost.
Yeah. Absolutely. That guilt, we talk about that in substance abuse counseling, the guilt and the shame that comes with some of the things that they've experienced or some of the things that they've done or that have been done to them when they're in active addiction is terribly traumatizing. And then, coming clean and getting out of that, and then they sort of have to reflect on it and look back on that, and there's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt to have to look back on some of your own actions and go, that's not even me, like I would never do
Yeah.
something like that. I would never harm someone in that way, but I did. So then it has sort of a crisis effect there. Yeah, and I think that's part of what leads to relapse, is that just becomes too heavy a burden to bear.
Well, what I want to do now, what do I got? I got about 15 minutes before I got to say goodnight to you. And I think I have enough time to do this. It's a two-part question I'm going to throw at you, and then the show is yours. You can take your time and tell us a good story. First of all, I've already had women reaching out to me. Woman demonologist, how do you get to do that? So, before we get to how you got involved with um, Bishop Long, Rich Valdez, the United States Old Catholic Church, the first female demonologist in the church, our church, I want to first go back to the paranormal life of Leslie Buffalo Bill Cody. You're a lifetime paranormal experiencer. I am too. I find people that have had those experiences for their lifetime. The stories are usually very, very interesting. And I've also had people reach out to me this week, as soon as I said you were going to be on the show, wanting to know that part about your life. Because many people have dealt with it too, and they didn't do so well. They don't, many people's lives have been dramatically changed because they've been lifelong paranormal experiencers and they couldn't share it with anybody. They didn't know how to deal with it. Um, and now they're just a basket case emotionally. But many come through it like you, do something with it, strong of mind and body and spirituality, and lead normal life. So tell everybody about your history with the paranormal, and then you can go into how we are here today with you being a demonologist.
Yeah. So history, well, how far back would you like me to go? Because
As
yeah.
far back as you want to go, anything you feel you want to share with us.
Okay. Well, I started having experiences when I was about 7 or 8, I believe. The clearest one I remember, I was around 12. But interestingly, I was going through my mother's attic with her, and she found this box of, childhood trinkets, and just handed it to me, was like, here, I think this is a bunch of your stuff from when you were a kid. Take it home. I just took it and put it in my closet because I'm like, what am I going to do with that? But I went through it, cleaning out my own closet, and found this little notebook. And, as children, we make these sort of construction paper, and it's like bound with yarn and prompts from the teacher. And I'm looking through it and I'm like, oh, I wrote this, with my messed up handwriting. And it was just a precious moment. I think I was 7 or 8. And one of the questions was, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? And then I noticed it said, what are you afraid of? And I was like, what was I afraid of? And I had written the shadows. And I was like, whoa. It really struck me, because I thought, I don't remember the shadows coming until I was 11 or 12. And so I thought, wow, they've been there longer than I even remember.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that was a very pivotal moment. It just sort of humbling, like, wow, I didn't even know, but I'm not surprised somehow. I was a really spiritual kid. Like, I would say probably in a weird way, just simply weird because not many kids around me were like that. I was always drawn to creepy things, first of all. They didn't scare me. I was fascinated by them. I would go to the library at 9 years old and read. I wanted to read about vampires and werewolves and ghosts and demons and angels, and anything spiritual, metaphysical, or creepy was just on my radar. And I would also spend a lot of time at the Catholic Church. I was raised in the Episcopal Church, but my church was actually one town over, so I couldn't visit it except on Sundays when my family would go. So there, about 2 blocks from my house, there was a Catholic church, and they left it open 24 hours a day. I think this was like back in the day.
Yeah.
Giving my age away here, but this was back in the day when it was safe to do that, and they left the churches open. So they had a little shrine inside, and there was a statue of Jesus and one of Mary, and they had candles and benches, and it was just this little sort of alcove set aside with a door on it. Excuse me. And I would go in there when my other friends were, playing in the neighborhood, and I'm this like 11, 12-year-old kid, just I wanted to hang out with Jesus. So I would go to the church and I would light a candle and I would sit there and just pray, just talk to God for hours. And that was fun to me. And I mean, it just felt like this is where I need to be. So between, hanging out in the church with Jesus all the time and hanging out at the library or wherever I could have, learn about creepy things, I was a little different when I was younger. So I probably should have known, but I didn't have any idea. And then when I got a little older, actually it was right around 12 or 13, I had what I call my demon dream. I don't know. I don't think it was as much a dream as it was a visitation. But dreaming was part of it. And I had woke up in the middle of the night. I shared a room with my sister, who was 9 years younger than me. So she was very little, I think like around 3. We had an L-shaped bunk bed. So I was on the top bunk, and then her bed came out from mine to where my head would have been over her feet. And I could just lean over the side and see her. We fought a lot because we were siblings. But on this night, I woke up and I needed to use the restroom. So I got up, and I didn't have a ladder attached to the bed. So I would just very carefully step down and try and step on the wood of her bed to get down, being really careful not to step on the mattress and wake her up. So I got down, went to the restroom, came back, did the same thing to get back up. And I laid down with my back to the room, my face to the wall. And I remember it felt like I just closed my eyes. And she started singing her ABCs, which is something she did when she couldn't sleep. And I was like, ugh, she's so annoying. Like, just, and then I'm thinking I woke her up. I must have stepped on her bed too hard and I woke her up. but I realized I was hearing the tinkling of bells in the room. And it kind of made me pause, like, there's no bells in the room. I don't know what that is. And I was thinking, is this like one of her toys is going off, or what is the sound? And then I realized, listening to her say the ABCs, as she gets further along, her voice is deepening. And it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper, until it's just this raspy sort of demonic. It was not a 3-year-old child. And in my panic, my response was to flip over and be like, stop it, stop. I don't know, it was not rational, but just stop it, stop making that noise because you're scaring me. And when I rolled over and I looked down onto her bed, my sister was not there. And there was this thing there instead of her that was about the size she would have been, sitting cross-legged, looking up at me, terrifying looking. The best way I could describe it would be similar to The Exorcist, with all the Hollywood glam, only it looked very realistic. And it was saying something to me. And as it was saying something in another language, it started levitating until it was level with where my bed was. And at that point, I had pulled way back, pushed myself up against the wall. I was absolutely terrified. And I think it was asking me something I didn't understand. But when I didn't answer, it sort of leaned forward and asked it again, looked very angry, had red eyes. And I just took off the side of my bed and ran to my parents' room. And then I woke up. So woke up in my bed, terrified to go back in my room for quite a while. But that was the first experience. And then from there, I had a lot more after that. And really, they never stopped. I still have them now, but they're not quite that intense. And it led me to paranormal investigation. I wanted to, find some answers. And I thought that was the way. And I think it served its purpose at the time. I needed to have those experiences, and I worked with some really incredible people, and learned a lot. And then sort of started realizing after one case in particular that was legitimately demonic. The woman was possessed, and I was not ready. I thought I would have been ready for that, but being in it was completely different than what I anticipated it would be like. So at that point, I realized there's a big difference, and Rich will be so proud of me for saying this. There is a big difference between paranormal investigation and religious demonology. And at that point, I realized I can't just go and investigate anymore. Like, this is not, now that I know what I know, because I witnessed things that just shouldn't have even been possible, levitation. I witnessed my friend being stuck to the wall and sliding up the wall and being held there, people being scratched.
People, when you tell that to people go, "Oh, that doesn't seem so scary." No, when you when you have an actual out of body experience witnessing it, and it's like, you think you're going for a moment or two, you think you're going crazy. You think, am I really seeing this? It's very frightening. And it's different to watch it on TV or in the movies or read about it, but to experience it, it's it's silly. But even to be in a room, and you're in there with something that doesn't want you there, and it does something like, with the force of like 10 big men slam a door so hard that the door cracks in the middle and almost caves in.
Yeah.
A lot of people go, "Oh, the door just slammed. It could have been wind." No, it's different. And even a door slam can be really frightening.
Yeah.
You can feel your heart like almost come out of your chest and like skip a beat. I know that's cliche, but just that can be extremely frightening.
Absolutely. And I think because when you're in that situation, there's an element there's an energetic shift that is very real that we pick up on that isn't necessarily apparent to people. Like, for example, when you're watching something on TV, you could be watching an investigation on TV, and it's easy to sit there from, the comfort of your couch and go, well, that wasn't that scary. That's so funny. He screamed, or, whatever. And it's like, when you're in it, there's a,
Different.
it's different. There's a feeling and a quality of feeling that happens. Thank you, Rich. There's a quality of feeling that happens there, that makes it very real. You can tell when something is just unnatural. And I think that's what really strikes you. So it's like, no, it's not just a door that's slammed. I think your senses pick up on something is present that is not human and not like anything I've ever experienced before. And I think that's what sort of triggers that fear, for sure.
Well, you real quick before I let you answer this next question, did you have fun when you come back? Because I got to have you back.
Oh, absolutely.
An hour. I knew an hour wasn't going to be long enough with you.
Absolutely. I'd
So
love to.
I'll throw some more dates at you later tonight. But
Okay.
in just the few minutes I have left, how did this all lead to Bishop James Long and Rich Valdez and the United States Old Catholic Church?
Well, I had started with the Paranormal Clergy Institute. I was involved as a team that assisted with the Institute. And that turned into working as a mental health professional with the church and the Paranormal Clergy Institute, to assist on cases, which turned into a case management position with the Paranormal Clergy Institute. And Rich and I were having a conversation one day about some of these cases that I'd been on. And he was saying, I think some of what you're saying, I think the bishop would really like to hear about this. So I'm like, okay. We got on a 3-way call, Rich and the bishop and myself, and we talked for a long time about them. And the bishop said, have you ever considered that maybe you have a calling to demonology? And I was like, oh, yes, but no, I don't know I don't know how I feel about that. I have considered
Don't feel
it.
bad for feeling that way. Everybody asks me all the time, how did you get where you're at? And I go, I was drug into it, kicking and screaming, literally.
Yeah. I had a lot of hesitation, for sure, because I knew what that would entail. I knew where I stood as far as the battle goes, but sort of making it public felt very real. And so the bishop said, spend some time in prayer and discernment. And he asked Rich if Rich would be interested in mentoring me. And Rich said yes. So I trained with Rich for a couple years, and learned a lot. But I think I knew in that moment there was sort of that confirmation of a calling even before we got off the phone, because Rich said, when you make this decision, I just want to make sure you understand, like they will know. And you do have situations where you can be impacted, like they will harass you. And I was like, I think my response was, well, I'm already, I don't know if there's children watching, so I'm not going to swear, but I said, I'm already on their crap list anyway. So, if God wants me to do this, I'm going to do it. And then right as I said that, I was standing in my bedroom and a crow smacked into my window hard, scared me. And I kind of looked over while I'm still on the phone, and this crow is laying beneath my window and it's just flopping all over on the ground. And then it just stands up and it looks at me and it flies off. And I was like, well, here we go. And then that was how it took off.
Do you mind me asking, have you been baptized yet?
I was baptized as a child in the Episcopal Church. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ask.
And confirmed.
I never anticipate or try to guess what Bishop Long is going to say. Every time I do, I'm usually wrong, and then I get put in timeout. I ask him again. I would love to see you get baptized again, even preferably and hopefully by Bishop James Long himself, into this church and into this calling. And I will pray for that, if that's meant to be, and if that's something that should happen, that it does happen. But I love you. I respect you. I'm looking for and expecting great things from you. I will have you back. You're probably going to hear from me from time to time, picking your brain on the mental illness issue occasionally. And I'm glad you and Zach have connected, because you're going to be a great guest on his one show that deals with suicide and all of that great stuff. But I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking an hour out of your busy Monday to hang out with me and my paranormal ministry family. We had some friends show up, and I know everybody loves you. So you stay good with God. I've already added you to the prayer list, and I pray for you often.
Thank you.
God bless you, and I will be in touch, and I'm not done with you yet, okay?
Sounds good. I'm ready to come back.
You have a great evening. I'll
Thank
talk
you,
to you later.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty. Bye-bye. She's cool. I'm looking for and expecting great things from Leslie Buffalo Bill Cody. She probably doesn't like that nickname. So
hey, Shawn, it looks like we've got a request here that maybe you can make happen. Michelle Young.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Michelle. She's asked him that before. It's been talked about, and it's in the planning, Michelle. And I'm going to send you a message after the show, and we will talk about that. But yeah, we've got to. There's a lot of people that would like to be that have joined. That have. You know what? If you're one of these people that this conversation is reaching, and you're feeling something reaching for you, and you're feeling good about it, you want more of this, go to the United States Old Catholic Church Clergy and Parishioners Facebook page and send in a request to join. You'll be accepted. Join the parish and just start experiencing the United States Old Catholic Church and see if it speaks to you. And it, as Leslie would say, checks off all those boxes and brings you into a world of spirituality that is unlike any other. So try that. But yes, I'll talk to you about that, Michelle. We'll talk to Bishop Long about that. I will be here. Well, mark this on your calendars too. 1 week from tonight, next Monday night, Memorial Day, I wasn't going to have a show, but I'm going to have the whole cast from Legion of Exorcists on my show. So that show is going to rock next Monday. But this Friday is also another great show, the 26th. Psychic portrait artist Angela Bolee will be here this Friday. You all know her. You all love her. That's going to be a great show. Okay. Thank you to Zach and Adrian Clayton, my co-producers, for producing my show. I couldn't do it without them because I am extremely computer illiterate. CommunityPayItForward.us. CommunityPayItForward.us. I don't want to ruin the surprise. Just go there and check it out. United States Old Catholic Church, USOCC.org. Go there. Check that out. That's the church I belong to. If you're interested in Bible study, which is every Sunday and Wednesday afternoons at 5 p.m. Pacific, go to that Facebook page I told you about, United States Old Catholic Church, Clergy and Parishioners. Bible study is live streamed there every Wednesday afternoon and Sunday afternoons. If you're interested in night prayer, every weeknight at 7 p.m. Pacific, go to bishopjameslong.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. The link to night prayer is there. It's a great way to end your day. So go there for that. Thank you to Things Network. Thank you to Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. Thank you to Skeleton Key Network. Thank you to PACT, little p, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel for all of these networks simulcasting my show. God bless you for that. And don't forget, audio re-airs of my episodes are re-aired Saturdays all day long on BeInspiredRadio.net. BeInspiredRadio.net. Chicky Hot, the rock psychic, that's her network. In addition to that, there's a lot of cool shows there. And in addition to that, there's old reruns of Art Bell shows there. Very cool network. BeInspiredRadio.net. Go there. Okay, you know the show. 1 week from this coming Thursday, June 1st, 10 p.m. on Travel Channel, Discovery Plus, and Max, Eli Roth presents The Legion of Exorcists. I'm blessed to be a part of that project, and I'm looking forward to you all seeing it, and I hope and pray you all enjoy it. Okay, bad joke time. I'm going to pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this haunted carnival barker hat, and it's my poor attempt to put a smile on everybody's face before I say goodnight. What do you do when you see a spaceman? Park in it, man. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. God bless. Peace.